Alright, we're live, and today we are playing Izzet Pheonix. Hang on, let me... Ranked, Explorer, Best of 3. Izzet multi-spell. Alright, it does that weird pop-up every so often. Don't know what that's about, but just have to click the button again. Alright. Let's see here. First opponent. We have some cantrips, a removal spell, and a Pheonix. This is probably fine. I mean, we have two cantrips, so like this could be anything. We'll just fire them off. Grab a third cantrip. Just for good measure. Arabella. Whenever it attacks, deals some damage. Okay. Let's consider and then probably just Fiery Impulse. Love a Free the Fae. We don't want them to have their creature. There's some sort of Boros tokens deck. So, Ornithopter. Gleeful Demolition. Venerated Loxodon. Alright. Opponent is doing some cool stuff. Let's kill the Loxodon itself. Oh, I should have discarded the Pheonix there. That was stupid. Alright. Well, we can get a Pheonix in the bin that way, at least. And then we pass. So opponent has 6 power, which is a lot of power. But hopefully they're going to be out of gas. Alright. Solved creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. Don't love that for me. So they have now 9 power in play. I think we lose these. I need to find a removal spell here. How about 3 copies of Artist's Talent in a land? Thank you, deck. Very cool. Imidane's Recruiter. Well, so much for game 1. We have some Wraths. We have some more, I guess, Ether Gust. Technically, nah, there's no way Ether Gust is good. Annul is probably good. Arabella is an artifact. The case is an enchantment. All right, let's try bringing some annuls in. And let's see, we'll cut Spell Pierce and Force Sleight of Hand. I feel like I need more things to cut from the main deck. I constantly find myself cutting cantrips, which I really don't want to do. This is a 1-lander. This got a good chunk of removal. Gonna bottom a 3rd land. I think I can afford to play blue on 1 and consider. Right. Just a Novice Inspector. So that will give them a thing to gleefully demolish on their next turn. Take a Cori Steelcutter. That card is pretty good. I think we still have time to Artist's Talent. They're going to gleefully demolish the clue, get a bunch of creatures, but it's probably fine. Warden of the Inner Sky makes that pretty good. Sorry about that. Quick sneeze. Yep. Gleeful demolition. They always have it. And the warden is getting quite large. Not large enough to be a problem, but large enough that we do kind of have to kill it this turn. I really need my third land, though. If I had third land here instead of Arclight Pheonix, I'd be in great shape. As it is, things are kind of rough. I'm going to Lightning Axe that, discard the Pheonix, discard the Torch the Tower. Alright, we didn't find the third land. We can consider get rid of the backup artist talent. Alright. Pheonix in the bin. No third land in sight. Just casual billion looks. No third land. Alright. There's the Ornithopter. There's Reckless Bushwhacker. And there's an attack for a billion. Okay, I just have to jam out the Cori Steelcutter at this point. And still no land. So that's what? 15? 2 lands? Technically 3 lands in 15 cards. Pretty ridiculous. Alright, Knight Errant of Eos for free. Finds them some cards and an Arabella. Alright, well, we have to kill the Arabella because it'll literally just kill us as an attack trigger. And we treasure cruise now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we can find our third land plus a 1-drop spell, then we can bring Phoenixes back and defend against some of this. Oh, of course. Just literally almost half of our deck. Like, more than a third of our deck, 2 lands. Meanwhile, opponent has the nut draw every time, and we lose. See, like, I wish there were lessons I could learn from that, but the lesson is just don't get unlucky. Like, literally, if I had drawn a third land, I would have at least been able to compete. But even then, my opponent also just drew the perfect hand 2 games in a row. So yeah, another pointless loss. Alright, we have a bunch of cantrips and an artist's talent. Alright. Well, we find a third land this time for sure. Opponent is playing Yorion plus Basic Island. What does Yorion plus Basic Island even mean? Broker's Hideout. Okay, so they're doing the land reanimation stuff. I don't really know how to play around that. I don't play against it enough to be familiar with it. I'm just going to keep firing off cantrips. And let's do another sleight of hand, just for good measure. Get the Fiery Impulse. Alright, I have the illusion of choice. I could pick an opt or an opt. Alright, Portable Hole takes away our artist's talent. Don't really care about that. Another Sackland. Gets them basic forest. Let's draw 3 cards. Surely one of these 3 cards will be something useful. Alright. Still just spinning our tires. I'm going to play a Picklock Prankster and hold up Spell Pierce and Flood Maw. And I guess Fiery Impulse. Omnath. So it enters, they draw a card. And I guess I have to consider end of turn because I definitely need to do something now. Double Fiery Impulse technically counts. I would love to free the Fae of Pheonix into the bin. And we fail. Take a random cantrip. Alright, Onmath has been dealt with. And we managed to deal a single point of damage. Spelunking, Spell Pierce, that one basically gives them so much mana Spell Pierce will never be live again. I wonder if that was the post Spell Pierce tap Land of Shame. Like, they very well might just have a different land that they could have played untapped. Alright, Cori Steelcutter is a great draw. Means next turn we can actually start applying any meaningful amount of pressure. Alright, they resolve the Spelunking this time. Nothing I can do about that. They use a Portable Hole on a Picklock Prankster. You'll love to see it. Alright, second Cori Steelcutter is quite good. I'll play both of these out. The second one isn't going to get to trigger because of timing. Alright, and another land. Alright, what do you have this time, opponent? If it's nothing, then I get to do Cori Steelcutter War Crimes. Also, half of my deck, 0 Phoenixes, 1 Cori Steelcutter. 1 out of 8 in half the deck. Or 2 out of 8, I guess. Right, they Leyline Binding. That's whatever. I have Flood Maw to deal with that temporarily. They've tapped out of white. They've tapped out of everything. Alright, we go to my turn. I will Flood Maw the Leyline Binding. And Artist's Talent. And make even more Monk tokens. And now we just opt. I would love to just cantrip into cantrips and kill them this turn. That's probably good enough. Alright, then we find a Consider, which I believe is lethal. God, Cori Steelcutter is so good. Like, basically nothing to exactly lethal. You'll love to see it. Alright, so they are... I mean, they're definitely all that nonsense. I don't know what to do about it. I guess just 3 copies of a null in Spell Pierce is probably less good than a null. Oh, these small creature removal spells are no good. The only creature I've seen so far is Omnath and Yorion, so the lightning axes can stay. Small creature removals don't. And let's see, negate. And maybe a copy of Ether Gust. Actually, probably Ether Gust is better than negate, because I know they have Omnath, and Ether Gust is better against Omnath. No, I haven't really played enough with this deck to get a good vibe on what exactly the cuts are supposed to be. God, this hand is so good if I just draw a second land and I have 2 opts and I'm on the draw. Alright. The old turn 1 Broker's Hideout. Alright. We opt anything that's not a land at the bottom. Alright. I have 3 looks at a second land. Thank you, Deafening Silence. Very cool. Please. Alright, well, I'll discard an Arclight Pheonix to hand size. Like, okay, I know keeping a 1 land is risky, but I have so many looks. I have so many. Alright, Deafening Silence is a huge problem. I can technically get around it with Picklock Pranksters and Hardcast Phoenixes for Cori Steelcutter purposes. Alright, opponent is doing their thing. Yeah, okay, we aren't winning this one. Not with the Deafening Silence in play. Alright, we just need every way of beating Deafening Silence possible. I really wish I had Enchantment Hate. Enchantment Hate would be cool. Alright, cut 2 Sleight of Hand. Like, the problem is Deafening Silence hits the board, and I'm very, very bad at dealing with it. Alright, that hand does nothing. This hand is another one that's great if I hit a second land, and I'm on the draw with 2 cantrips. Alright. Second land is good. Second blue source, not great. Alright, we were going to consider here. Put a Pheonix in the bin. Alright, that is perfectly fine. It'll be untapped next turn anyway, so I'll play an untapped blue source this turn, just for the sake of doing so. Alright, here comes the Deafening Silence. They have a white mana and an 80 card deck, so they're guaranteed to have their probably 2 or 3 of sideboard card. Alright, they don't. So Cori Steelcutter into a consider. Second Artist Talent to the graveyard. Floodmaw is great. Now we can beat a Deafening Silence. Alright, Portable Hole takes my Cori Steelcutter. Alright, can I cast 3 spells this turn to get a Pheonix back? Probably not. Probably better to just set up for next turn. We'll take our 2 points of damage and pass. I don't want to Floodmaw the Portable Hole right there because I don't want to get messed up by a deafening silence without the Flood Maw. All right, now I think we should be good to go. Let's bounce the portable hole, get our Cori Steel Cutter back. And I think we discard Lightning Axe for now. We need the Annul in case they try to like flash in some nonsense. Alright, they Memory Deluge. That's huge. So I do need to hit another castable spell to get my Pheonixes back. Alright, spell 1 for the turn, check. Spell 2 for the turn. Here we go. Discard a land. Please give me a third spell. Alright, no third spell, but we do have a backup Cori Steel Cutter. Do I play that now? I think I play that now. It gives me prowess triggers and, like, leaves me with a Cori Steel Cutter in play after they portable hole anyways. Yeah, so they portable hole taking one of the cutters. Alright, they take the one which is objectively worse. This one is attached to a creature, so even if I do nothing, I don't have to spend mana to equip it. Oh, we draw a land. Okay. That's very bad. I'm going to level up Artist Talent and just attack. I'm really, really hoping they try to flash in a Leyline Binding or something. They don't. I'm going to hold this land so that if I get to annul something, I can discard it and try to find something good. The top decks have really not been cooperating today. Like, how have I gotten this far into the game and just been unable to cast 3 spells in a turn? Okay, more lands. I'll play a land now. And attack. And sure, I'll level up Artist's Talent. Actually doesn't matter at all, but may as well. Please flash in a Leyline Binding to remove the Artist's Talent. It'd be so cool. Thank you. Alright, I get to cast a spell. I get to cycle, and I find a Consider. That's huge. Hopefully that means that my future stuff can work better next turn. Opponent has all these stupid little lands that are gaining them a life every time. Probably gained like, what, 4 life off of those? 5 now? It's not a 0 amount of life. Hopefully we can storm off next turn and kill them and it doesn't matter. Alright, ill-timed explosion. That is mildly annoying, but mostly fine. Alright, they discard an Atraxa. See that, right? Yep. Alright. Alright, Picklock Prankster. Actually, possibly the best draw. I'm going to fire that off. Decline. Please put more Pheonixes in the bin. And a Treasure Cruise. Alright, top decks have started cooperating. 3, 4, 5, 6. And... oh, right. I have it discounted, so I don't need to do more. So I guess they could have a mystical dispute for this. I think I pay. I have the Consider in hand, and drawing 3 is huge. Alright, let's play another blue source. Let's consider. Discard the land. And just digging for more Pheonixes. So Picklock Prankster is the best here. I think we keep Ether Gust in hand. It might bail us out of something in the future. Alright, but this should theoretically be exactly lethal again. Alright, opponent loves being at exactly 0 life. Yeah, we top decked very poorly for a lot of the mid game there, but then once we actually drew some cards, it was pretty much just trivial from that point. Alright. Next opponent has the Lae'zel avatar. That's fun. Alright. Opponent is choosing which player will play first. Bunch of lands, 2 cantrips. Alright, with only 1 cantrip in hand, the 1 blue source is not keepable. This hand is fine, though. We will bottom... We'll bottom a land and a spell. Just keep 2 and 3. You know what would be cool is if I could keep a 7, like, at any point in my entire life, and not constantly have to mulligan to 5. Alright, we're in the mirror. We are in the mirror, and opponent has seemingly a better start than us. They consider... Draw some cards, play a land, consider some more. Still no Pheonixes in the bin. Alright, there's a Pheonix. Spoke too soon. And an opt putting another Pheonix in the bin. Alright, we lose the game pretty much. Like, they got 2 Pheonixes back on turn 3. We have no real prospect of getting anything back in the next couple of turns. So I guess we'll Picklock Prankster here. Discard a land, because we're likely to find one at some point anyway. Alright, we have Fiery Impulse to mitigate damage slightly, but it's not amazing against our play Pheonix. Alright. They're on the Prophesidetic Memory build. Possibly no Cori Steel Cutters then? Alright, they have a lot of cards in Graveyard. I imagine a Dig Through Time is coming. Or, what's it called? Treasure Cruise? Yeah, Treasure Cruise. I have one in my hand. Yep. Opponent gets to Treasure Cruise, put another Pheonix in the bin. Because, of course, they literally have 3 more Pheonixes than me. Seems beatable. Alright. I need to get rid of Lightning Axe. Take 6, go to 8. And then be dead next turn almost no matter what. Alright, how many cards in Graveyard? 6. So I can consider... Discard Picklock Prankster. Alright, I find a Pheonix. That's huge. So now I can Treasure Cruise. 5, 6, 7. Second spell for turn. Put a Pheonix in the bin. then third spell for turn is Opt. Discard Lightning Axe, I guess. Alright. Do I Fiery Impulse one of their Phoenixes just to temporarily get rid of it in order to get back another Phoenix of my own? I think not. I think we go to combat, get our one Phoenix back, and just plan on Fiery Impulse during combat to stay alive. Alright, they also have Cori Steelcutter. That is bad, because I was sort of counting on that being my advantage, is that, like, I'm playing a better version of the deck than them, but now we know I'm not. Alright, they have Floodmaw. I will kill their monk in response. They need to cast 2 spells. Alright. Spell Pierce is the worst case scenario. We die here. So we need Anger of the Gods, Brotherhood's End. And then... what? Annul, I guess. Mystic Dispute. Cut the Fiery Impulses. Cut the Lightning Axes. Bring in Abrades. Cut Spell Pierce. I don't know. We have to beat the Cori Steelcutters. That's like the major threat. The Phoenixes, hopefully we just deal with somehow. We're going to keep a reactive hand that does nothing. Probably afford to sleight of hand on 1. Alright, they definitely can afford to sleight of hand on 1. Alright, now we pass. And Picklock Prankster, end of turn. Artist's Talent can resolve. I'm saving the Annul for Cori Steelcutter. Alright, take the Anger of the God. That's a great card. Just, like, if nothing else, it's sort of a menace for them to know that I have it. Play a red source, so I have double red for those spells. And now I get to be the first one attacking. I think I take Picklock Prankster here. No real good way of getting a Phoenix in the bin anyways. So having it stuck in hand doesn't seem great. Consider a Phoenix to the bin. So it looks like they're planning on going off this turn. Alright, second spell is just killing a monk. That's good, I guess, in terms of them technically running out of resources a little bit. Like, I don't care about the monk, I'm just going to get another one back next turn. Alright, I have the Anger. I'm going to leave the Phoenix alone for this turn. Okay, actually Floodmaw is great. So Floodmaw is a spell that I can cast. Slows them down a little bit, probably. I mean, it gives them more discard fodder, if that was a problem. But... alright. I really just want them to get more Phoenixes back so I can Anger of the Gods and get them. They know about the Anger, so they shouldn't be bringing back multiple Phoenixes. Right, they're just treasure cruising. And yeah, they have basically infinite cards in hand. I'm going to Treasure Cruise next turn. Alright, they use a torch on a monk token. That is actually very good for me, because the torches kill phoenixes. Alright, I don't have a phoenix in the bin, right? Right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's draw 3. Alright, second spell is the Sleight of Hand. Surely, at some point, we will hit a 4th land drop. Apparently not. Apparently hitting a 4th land drop is just impossible. Discard a Phoenix to hand size. Look at that sick tech. Draw the old classic, draw 3 cards, miss your 4th land drop. Prof Eidetic Memory, and I'm tapped out of blue for Mystic Dispute. So now they just have to draw a bunch of cards and I lose. I lose to any creature pretty much. Yep, Treasure Cruise. Alright, opponent has managed to get extraordinarily lucky in multiple ways in order to win. Like, if I had drawn a 4th land, I would have just Mystic Dispute the Prof Eidetic Memory and we'd be fine. Now I need to find just... Yeah, no, it's basically over. I'll cast a Picklock Prankster as my second spell for turn. That'll show him. Alright, if you have somehow no removal for Picklock Prankster, then I might be able to win next turn. But you have half of your deck in your hand right now. I assume you have some way of killing Picklock Prankster. Alright, there's a Prankster of their own. Put another Phoenix in the bin for good measure. Another Phoenix in the bin, because why not? What, my opponent ever struggled to find their stuff? Yep, just me halfway through my deck, missing land drops, only 1 Phoenix. Alright, thing in the ice. Alright, Fiery Impulse, unsurprisingly. Man, one of these days, I'm going to get above, like, the bottom 10% of luck, and then I'll be able to win games. One of these days, I will be able to win games by not getting horrifically unlucky. I think that's the most frustrating part about this, is it's not like I'm losing because I'm playing bad. It's not like I'm losing because I'm playing a worse deck. I'm losing because I just can't draw well, and my opponents always draw well. Like, what is this? I don't think I've kept a 7, like, all stream. Like, here I go, mulliganing to 5 again, while my opponent just keeps the 7 with their best card in their starting hand. Oh boy. I do love mono blue tempo. Alright, so I can bounce the Wanderer. That gives... Alright, so that doesn't give Ward 1 because it's not legendary. Understandable. Alright, I think we pass and try to Flood Maw the Wanderer, like, on their end step or something. Alright, second Wanderer isn't great. I can pay for it, though. So let's try to do this. Slip out the back, of course. Why would I ever think otherwise? Please find me a removal spell. No removal spells to be found. Alright, well, our hand is now one copy of Artist's Talent. Opponent has the third Mausoleum Wanderer for some reason. Alright, I'll cast an Artist's Talent. Surely my spells will resolve. Yeah, okay. I'll cast another Artist's Talent. Maybe this one will resolve. Nope. So that's what? 3 Geistlet Snares? It's 2 Geistlet Snares, 3 Mausoleum Wanderers, a slip out the back. Alright, down to 9. Opponent gets to draw another card. Alright. Maybe this will find us a removal spell, of which there are many in my deck. And then maybe my opponent won't be able to counter it. Okay. They can sack... They sack the good Mausoleum Wanderer. That's something at least. But they have Ascended Spirit. So... mono blue tempo. Like, the deck isn't even good. It's just very frustrating. Yeah, don't say good game, opponent. Like, the sheer audacity to say good game when you're playing mono blue tempo. Like, there is no such thing as a good game with mono blue tempo. There are only bad games and worse games. Alright, let's cut random bounce spells. Actually, probably random bounce spells are good. What do I cut? Maybe it's Arclight Pheonix? I feel like Cori Steelcutter is more than enough to win this matchup if I don't instantly die. I feel like... No, Arclight Pheonix is better because I don't have to spend any mana on it. So I think actually we cut the Cori Steelcutter here. And 2 Sleight of Hand. Now if they show Graveyard Hate, Cori Steelcutter is coming right back in. I don't think Mono Blue Tempo will have explicit Graveyard Hate though. Alright. This hand has 4 removal spells in it. If this doesn't work, then nothing does. So... Alright. I'll play a tap land on 2. They flash in a Spectral Sailor. I will immediately kill it. Opponent has emoted your go for some reason. Alright, Unlicensed Hearse is a thing that exists. I have outs to that. I have, obviously, Hardcast Pheonix. I have Brotherhood's End in here somewhere. I also have random bounce spells that can temporarily get it off my back. Fire off an Opt end of turn, see if I can get anything proactive set up. Don't need a 5th land. Alright, I'm tapped out here, so they will counter that, because of course they will. Now this is a very, very different situation when they don't have a creature on board. Like, at this point, they're just sort of accomplishing very little. Which favors me, because eventually I will draw stuff. Alright, there's the Supreme Phantom. I think we untap first. Rewarded with a Spell Pierce. Unfortunately, the Unlicensed Tourist is turning the Fiery Impulse off, so I have to Lightning Axe this. Pitching... I think probably Fiery Impulse. Anger of the Gods is a sweeper. Alright, let's Spell Pierce your Fading Hope, see what you do then. Alright, resolves, and the Phantom dies. So far, so good. Alright, there's a Floodmaw. That will eventually tempo the Unlicensed Tourist, give us a window to get Phoenixes into the bin. If we ever find Artist's Talent plus Phoenix, that is. Currently we are both just sort of sitting here accomplishing very little. There's a Mausoleum Wanderer. That is a creature. Alright, if I let them untap with Mausoleum Wanderer, they can do all sorts of shenanigans. If I don't, they can probably counter... Yeah, I think I just play Arclight Phoenix here, hardcast. See what happens. Ether Gust. Oh, I'll put Phoenix to the top. We managed to get an 0 for 1 there. Opponent still does not have... Like, Mausoleum Wanderer is technically a clock, but it's not a good one. Alright, what if I cast Arclight Phoenix again? And now I get to start attacking. And my 3-power creature is bigger and scarier than your 1-power creature. Alright, what if I just cast another Arclight Phoenix? How do you beat 6 flying power? See, this is why the first game is so tilting. Like, the mono blue tempo deck is so atrociously bad, but sometimes it gets you. Alright, you've put a counter on your Mausoleum Wanderer. So I guess that lets you crew up the Unlicensed Tourist and hit me for 11. Alright, pretty scary. Alright, I think we just attack them and then Floodmaw and fight over it. Floodmaw the Unlicensed Tourist, fight over it, and then hopefully win. Ascendant Spirit requires like a lot of mana to get flying. They are powering it up. They've crewed the hearse. Now let's see what attacks they do. Just the hearse. Alright. Unlicensed hearse go away. And Mausoleum Wanderer doesn't save it, but Mausoleum Wanderer does potentially save them. They recast the hearse, which I don't care about. It doesn't do anything at all at this point. So now I just need a way of beating Mausoleum Wanderer. How about a Fiery Impulse? So with... Yeah, okay, double Fiery Impulse actually does it. Oh, it's a 2-2. It was a 3-3 because the Spirit entered last turn. Alright. Easy win. We're going to bring in the Cori Steel Cutters and cut the Pheonixes, because that would make this a whole lot easier. And yeah, let's try this. So we just need to do the same thing as last time of just preventing our opponent from doing anything at all. We have removal spells, we have Cori Steel Cutters. We have Mausoleum Wanderer, which I will immediately Fiery Impulse. They counter it out of spite. Understandable. Alright, there's the tap out for the hearse, which is the best possible thing that could happen for me. I've pivoted into not caring at all about the graveyard, except for this one copy of Treasure Cruise in my hand. Yeah, nice sideboard card, opponent. It would be a shame if it actually didn't matter, because I cut the part of the deck that cares about it. Alright, second Cori Steel Cutter. It resolves, and the game is basically over at this point. Like, we get two Cori Steel Cutter triggers. Even if this opt gets countered, I don't care. Take another removal spell. Faceless Haven becomes a 4-3, but they can't activate it right now, so in we go. I guess actually they could have gotten me there with the Unlicensed Hearse, but they apparently did. Oh, there's only one card in each graveyard. That's funny. So they would have had to trade the Hearse, and they don't know that that's good for them. Alright, I would love another red source. I would love to just draw a second red source. Consider is fine. Fire that off. Buff the monk tokens. I don't think I need third Cori Steel Cutter. Yeah, let's try to torch the rattle chains. Like, best case it works. Worst case we get more interaction out of their hand. Another rattle chains. Sure. So do I attack here, even though they can do Unlicensed Hearse to eat one of my guys? So they eat the 3-power guy, they trade with one of the 2s, and they take 5. I think that's probably not worth it. I think we hold back this turn. If only this Picklock Prankster were a consider, then we would be in great shape. They have another Curious Obsession. But they're only attacking with 1. So they're leaving the second Rattle Chains to stay on defense. Now they have also Faceless Haven, which they can use defensively if they need to. And a Mausoleum Wanderer. Right, opponent is definitely setting up pretty decent defense. Will it be good enough to beat a gazillion Cori Steel Cutters? Another Curious Obsession, sure. Why not? Alright, we're going to lead on Opt. And bottom a random land. We opt again. Get a trillion triggers. Just so many triggers. Bottom a Cori Steel Cutter. Alright, if I play this on blue... So I can Lightning Axe the Rattle Chains and force them to choose now how they're doing all that stuff. I'm not going to be casting Anger the Gods this game. So no matter what they do, they go down a creature. They don't necessarily have to go down a blocker this turn. Alright, one Rattle Chain's down. Are they dead? I think they might be dead. They block 2, they take 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They go to 2. And they lose the Mausoleum Wanderer. Unlicensed Hearse obviously eats a monk, but... Alright, they activated the crew ability a second time for fun. But they are at 2 against a horde of prowess creatures, and they have maximum of 1 attacker or blocker. Like, what do you even do here? Faceless Haven plus Unlicensed Hearse is 10 points of damage, which is distinctively not 14. Yep, and they concede. The old classic mono blue tempo deck gets lucky once, gets bodied in sort of boring matches the other 2 times. Alright, let's do another one. Alright, see what we have this time. Alright, waiting on your opponent. Please choose quickly. Alright, they did choose. Alright, the old 1 land 2 cantrip start. It's a classic. I feel like this deck needs an additional land. Maybe just 1 or 2. But I am constantly running into these problems. Attune with Ether. Alright. Opponent has cast Attune with Ether. Are they an energy deck? Yeah, opponent is just straight up playing Teamer Energy. Alright. Not gonna complain about that one. Although they're probably doing some cheese, right? Like, there's that giant artifact that basically reads like, if you get 10 energy, you win the game or something. They're already up to 6. And Rogue Refiner. Alright. We get a Pheonix into the bin, but no luck in actually getting lands, so that's unfortunate. Please, 3rd land. Alright, we discard a Pheonix to hand size. It was intentional, trust me. Oh, this turn would have been so good if I just drew a land. Whirler Virtuoso, they are up to 10 energy. Alright. We managed to find the only land in our entire deck that comes in tapped under these circumstances. And they're going to Whirler Virtuoso, make one Thopter. Another Servant to the Conduit. That Whirler Virtuoso is definitely going to be able to make him a bunch of Thopters. And I'm at 7 somehow. Not sure exactly when that one happened. How many Phoenixes do I have in the bin? I have 2. Alright, I'm going to get Phoenixes back rather than playing Cori Steelcutter. Yeah, I'm even going to put that one in the bin. Alright, we find a 4th land. That's huge. Because that means second spell is Picklock Prankster, which opens the opportunity for even more Phoenixes. Come on, 3rd Phoenix. No. Opponent is emoting. Bro, you are playing energy. You do not get to complain. Discard the Opt there. Kill the Whirler Virtuoso, force them to make their Thopters now. And they do just make a bunch of Thopters. I won't discard a card. Alright, the old defensive Phoenixes. Alright, I think we're dead now. I think we might have technically lived, but now they've removed a creature. Block a Rogue Refiner, take... Yeah, we would have lived at 1. Alright, opponent is sort of obnoxious with all their emoting. We're going to bring in our sweepers. Pithing Needle is probably good against the energy deck. Let's see. Is it like just energy mid-range nonsense? It looks like just energy mid-range nonsense. Alright. Let's cut Spell Pierce and 2 Sleight of Hand. Leave all the rest of our stuff in. Alright, hand's decent. We have a Torch the Tower, but more importantly we have all the cantrips we'd ever need. Turn 1 Sleight of Hand. I'll grab an Anger the Gods any day of the week. Alright, so far, still need to find the 3rd land drop, but if we do, we're in good shape. Opponent just playing Servant to the Conduit. I'm going to main phase Picklock Prankster. Try to find a land. Just another Phoenix. Grab a Lightning Axe. And we miss the 3rd land while my opponent is ramping. Doesn't seem good for the home team. Alright, Rogue Refiner. 3rd land. Alright. Love to see it. I'll play that on red, because I do need the colors a little bit. Alright, found the lands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, opponent has the attention span of a walnut. They are emoting basically every time I do anything that they are bored. Another Servant to the Conduit. And just attacks. Alright, and I'm even scared of this. That's 7 damage. I guess that's kind of scary. I'll Anger the Gods here. And decline. I actually like all of my cards. Alright, we pass. Golos. Alright. I guess I should have expected something like this. It just gets Ether Hub? Are you crazy? Ether Hub is not a worthwhile card to get off of a Golos. I guess they already have World Tree in play. That's probably why. I'll play some Cori Steel Cutters. Discard nothing. I like my hand still. And discard the Torch the Tower to kill the Golos. Alright. Unless my opponent shows me more crazy stuff with their big mana, I should be fine here. How many Phoenixes are in the bin? 3, so Treasure Cruise currently offline. Let's consider. Discard the Sleight of Hand. Discard the land. A lot of Fiery Impulses. Second spell is Treasure Cruise. Cori Steel Cutter's trigger, 1 spell away from Pheonix. I'm going to discard a random Fiery Impulse. Brotherhood's End, somewhat counterproductive at the moment. Alright, third spell, Picklock Prankster. Mystic Dispute, sure, don't really care about that. So just let me get my prowess triggers. Alright, third Cori Steel Cutter. I'll cast that for more prowess triggers while I'm here. And now I get my Phoenixes back. And we see if my opponent dies on the spot. I haven't done the math. Apparently they have. Alright, so they're doing Golos shenanigans and Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. Okay, I guess a null is probably good. Pithing Needle remains good. Glad I have that in. I think maybe I cut some of this small creature, like, single target burn spells. Just have the sweepers instead. Alright, this hand is great. We have 2 lands and a Cori Steel Cutter and cantrips. Second Cori Steel Cutter is fantastic. Both have a Spiral Bluff Canal on one. They have Ether Hub. And let me guess, Servant of the Conduit. Daring today, aren't we? I'm just going to kill that. Slows them down a fair bit. Now this turn I play a Cori Steel Cutter because next turn I want to go Cori Steel Cutter, opt, trigger both. And I don't know how opponent ever beats 2 Cori Steel Cutters. Rogue Refiner. Card is very mediocre. It's not bad. It's also by no means exciting. Alright, get 2 Cori Steel Cutter triggers. Which means we get a pair of Hasty 2/2s. And sure, let's just keep the cantrips coming. Good for prowess. Right. Rogue Refiner instantly trades away. Whirler Virtuoso is mildly annoying. Gives them a lot of bodies to block my monks with, but ultimately not a big deal. Alright, Mystic Dispute on Picklock Prankster is decent. Fortunately, I kept the second opt. Alright, please find me another spell. Not an annul. How about another opt? So now all of my monks can attack into the Virtuoso, which is huge. And also we are working quite well towards Treasure Cruise next turn. Just all the cantrips in the world, please. Opponent is going to make a chump blocker. Alright, we have successfully drained them of 3 energy, which isn't as amazing as killing them, but is still pretty decent. Puzzle Knot gains them energy and life, and energy also gains them chump blockers. This Whirler Virtuoso can stall us for quite a while. Yep, Harness Lightning, whatever. Alright, Brotherhood's End, not the card for the situation. Lead on Sleight of Hand, and then Treasure Cruise. I guess we take Anger the Gods in case things change dramatically. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would love to refuel. And hopefully this Treasure Cruise finds me another cantrip. Opponent is paused in response. Are they officially roping me now? I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if the opponent who spammed emotes in the first couple of games would resort to roping once it was clear they'd lost. Yep, they're definitely roping. Alright, well, we get to sit here for a bit. We get to sit here while opponent wastes everyone's time. Alright, draw a couple of cards. Alright, Lightning Axe is great. Just gonna get rid of the Anger of the Gods. Give myself a bunch more prowess tokens. Get rid of their creature. They cleverly roped, which means they go to 1 here. And now we get to sit and wait for them to probably eventually time out. Alright, well, let's sit here and wait for a bit. The game is really, like, it doesn't respect the player's time at all. It's obvious that they've left by this point. Like, we just have to sit here and wait. It's been obvious for multiple minutes that they have left. Alright, the timer is at 0. Alright, now we get to go to combat. They have priority because of the stupid Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. Which means now we get to sit and wait for a little bit longer for them to inevitably concede. Like, it's honestly outrageous, like, how the game allows this sort of thing to happen. It takes so long. Like, if they disconnect and they don't immediately relaunch the game, the game should be over. If they sit here and rope one single time while physically present, The game should be over. Alright. Well, that was frustrating. Let's get into another game, hopefully with a human being who isn't basically just the worst person ever. Alright, well, we get a 0-lander into a 1-lander. The 1-lander isn't even good. So now we get to keep a mediocre 5-card hand. Alright, let's get rid of those two. And I don't know, maybe Treasure Cruise will get us out of this. What did I bottom? Picklock Prankster? Probably should have kept Picklock Prankster. I drew one anyway. We're against Zagoth Triome Yorion. Oh boy, I do love Up the Beanstalk. So Free the Fae fills the graveyard, which hopefully will make Treasure Cruise viable. We find a Cori Steelcutter, which I'm going to slam. We have missed a land drop, but we have a Cori Steelcutter in play. And they have a Leyline Binding. Of course they do. Alright, land drop acquired. Let's bounce the Leyline Binding. Kill the fish, because you don't get to have a fish. And then opt. Yes, we have to take a Pheonix. We have to win the game somehow. And attack you for 3. Now you get to reuse your Leyline Binding on the Cori Steelcutter. But at least I have a 1/1 Prowess token to show for it. Alright, do I play Treasure Cruise or do I just jam Pheonix and try to be aggressive? I think I have to jam Pheonix and try to deal additional points of damage. Alright. We're never winning this game. Let's bring in annuls and negates and brazen borrowers and remove fiery impulses, torch the towers, and 2 lightning axes. So, yeah. The deck we're playing against is busted, especially when they always have multiple of their best cards in an 80-card deck, which is basically every single time. Alright, this hand is not at all aggressive. This hand is probably worse than the previous one, but I don't want to go to 5, so we're keeping it. At least we have a null. That's something. They're not going to play any interesting cards on 1. Just going to take the Artist's Talent, so that if we draw a red source, we can do something. Alright. Pass, and Picklock Prankster end of turn, or Anola Beans. Goodbye. Sleight of hand, please find me a red source. Thank you. Alright. Well, we've managed to stop their first Up the Beanstalk. Of course, they're going to have a second one. Oh, nope. Somehow worse. So that's one spell per turn. Do I just keep the Pheonix? Yeah, I think I just keep the Pheonix. It's more likely to hardcast. And we brick on the Picklock Prankster, putting 2 Cori Steel Cutters in the bin. Just the classic. And they have an Overlord of the Mistmoors. Alright, the good news is we don't have to play this match anymore. Oh boy. I am very close to dropping Magic the Gathering just permanently. Like, I could be spending this time playing Factorio, or like Dyson Sphere Project, or like maybe other fun games. Instead, I'm sitting here getting unlucky repeatedly. Alright. We have a cantrip, we have a Cori Steel Cutter, we have 1 land. We're never gonna get more than 1 land. If we go to 6, we're gonna have 0 lands, and we're gonna go to 5, we're gonna have a hand that is just this but worse. So we may as well keep. Fucking okay. Well, I'll take another removal spell. Right, they have an Overlord of the Baelmerk. So they're a slightly different version of Rakdos. Alright, cool. We miss our land drops, we can concede. And so they're Rakdos of some variety. I don't know, I'm just going to run it back and try to kill them with the main deck. Alright. Here we go. This hand has cantrips and removal spells, but a whole lot of nothing. This hand has a Pheonix and a Treasure Cruise at least. I'll play a tap land on 1. And play another land. Alright, so what is this? Is this going to be Greasefang? Is that what the white is for, or is it Ketramos? Probably Greasefang, knowing my luck. Alright, Artist's Talent is a great draw. So we can at least play that. Don't have any cantrips right now, but future cards like this Fiery Impulse will be turbocharged. Or not. Get 0 value out of it. Draw more uncastable spells. Very cool. Yep, there's a Parhelion. Oh boy. I wonder what that could possibly mean. Fear of missing out. Pitching another giant artifact. Unlicensed Hearse. Alright. We are just going to lose this game probably, but technically not over. We could do Cori Steel Cutter things. I will use both of my fiery impulses to kill your fear of missing out, because I forgot to do it in response to the unlicensed hearse. Alright, now I jam an Arclight Pheonix and attack, and you put a Grease Fang into play and I concede. Please put a Grease Fang into play so I can concede. I swear if you do random mid-range nonsense, I'm going to be upset, because that means I have to keep playing. Random mid-range nonsense it is. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Five, 6. So I can't Treasure Cruise next turn, especially not if they hearse proactively, which is objectively just the worst possible time to activate unlicensed hearse. Alright, let's opt. Alright, if we had a Pheonix, we would be getting it back. We don't, but we can at least kill their Goblin Shaman. That'll show them. And theoretically, if they unlicensed hearse, if they wait to unlicensed hearse in response to a Pheonix, I would be able to Treasure Cruise next turn. Or they could just hardcast Sky Sovereign, and then hearse the Pheonix out from under me. Alright, I'm going to lose this game. I don't know how, but I'm going to lose it. Fine, I drew Cori Steel Cutter. That's a pretty good one. They are at 8. How are they at 8? I only attacked them like twice. Have they just shocked in a land every turn of the game? Pretty much. Alright, there's the Grease Fang. There's a Parhelion in the bin from ages ago. Alright, let's do a draft. I think I have 10,000 gold, right? Alright, let's see here. Events, limited. What brands of draft do we have? Oops, all Tarkier. Okay. We could do quick draft. Let's do Premier Draft. If this draft doesn't go well, this will probably be the last Magic I ever play. Alright. Finding a draft table. Alright, find a draft table. Click ready. Wait for everyone else to click ready. Alright. So, new way forward is Ink Shield, but weird. Doesn't seem great. None of these cards... I'm not seeing anything amazing. Let's take Essence Anchor. It's not good. Martyr Siegebreaker we get past. Alright, let's try building Mardu aggressive nonsense. Karsi Revenant, that's also a good pickup. Alright. Opponents seem to be passing us rares. Alright. Alright, so then that's a combat trick. That's a creature, which is also kind of a combat trick adjacent. This one is mana fixing. Duty Beyond Death. Sacrifice a creature. Creatures you control get indestructible at +1/+1. That seems busted. Alright, we're going to pull this Essence Anchor to the sideboard. Not interested in that. We're going Mardu. Or at least black-white something. Alright, 2/1, lifelink gives something else lifelink. Reigning Victor has seemed decent when other people have played it against me. Mobilize 1 is pretty good. Or Mardu Monument. I think Reigning Victor. The Monument seems a bit slow. Trying to be aggressive here. Alright. Change the stream title to Arceus Draft. Can't do that on YouTube as far as I know, so YouTube is just going to remain wrong. Alright. Do that. What is this? Make a soldier, pump some stuff. Make a soldier pump some stuff seems not completely embarrassing. Like it's a 2-mana 2/2. Or a decent endgame thing. Alright, waiting on other players to pass a draft pack. This is what I get for picking relatively quickly in the beginning. Get to sit here and wait. Alright, Breaching Dragonstorm enters. You get to cast a giant spell, potentially. Alright, that doesn't seem great. Let's take a tap land. We need fixing. Everyone needs fixing. And random combat tricks. And Flying Mobilize 1 seems decent. Feral Deathgorger seems decent, but I think I like the aggressive creature better. And let's pick a combat trick in our colors. And sure, a thing that comes with an additional body. Alright, technically one more pick, I believe, or two. The curve is looking pretty decent. We have a 1-drop creature, a 2-drop creature. Alright, definitely need to get more creatures. We have a lot of combat tricks right now, not a lot of creatures. Scavenger Revenant. I mean, I'm not going to say no to a board wipe that's also a decent creature. Like, I think we just take this. And then hope some of the other stuff wheels. Strategic Betrayal is removal. But what I need are cheap creatures. Okay, no real cheap creatures in this. I guess I will take Rebellious Strike. It is a decent combat trick. It replaces itself. Maybe Reigning Victor would be better just to have more creatures. Zergo's Vanguard seems fun. Just, if I can get a bunch of Mobilize, its power is just going to be giant. Let's see, what else is there? There's also Mardu Monument. I think probably Mardu Monument is more reliable. I need the fixing. I need to not get distracted by shiny things. I just need to have decent fixing and a decent curve. Yeah, I have 9 creatures so far. And most of them are relatively expensive. Which is not great if you're trying to build an aggressive Mardu deck. Alright, another Mardu Monument. But Mardu Devotee is better because it fixes and is also a creature. It's a cheap creature too. What else is there? There's Rescue Leopard, Seize Opportunity. Let's take Mardu Devotee. And another Mardu Monument. But again, I want to just take a 2-mana 2/2, I think. Like, having these smaller creatures is really going to short my curve. I mean, I don't think this card is going to be very good, but with Mobilize tokens, maybe. Alright. Wayspeaker Bodyguard. Reanimates a thing. It has Flurry. This has Menace and Mobilize 1. That seems clearly much better. And another 2-mana 2/2. Just decent curve filler, I guess. I would like to cut it if possible, but might not be able to. So we could have a 4-mana 2/1 or another combat trick. Let's take a creature. Loxodon Battle Priest is pretty good top end. The red is very much a bit of a splash right now. We are heavily in white-black. Another Reigning Victor. What's this? It's 3/3 Flying Haste with bad fire breathing. Now let's take the Reigning Victor. And more combat tricks. It's a combat trick which stays around, which is pretty nice. We do get a Seize Opportunity, which is card advantage that can also just kill my opponent out of nowhere. 4-mana 3/3 Prowess makes a treasure token. Isn't amazing, but is probably fine. And we get an on-color spell in the last pick. Descendant of Storms. Frontline Rush, though. Frontline Rush seems great. Gives us a lot of creatures, and can potentially pump something up by a ton. When another creature you control enters, this deals 1 damage to target opponent. That seems like that is the sort of thing I want to be doing. Let's see here. Any of the rest of this stuff, I could have more combat tricks, but I think that is better. Bone Cairn Butcher. That is great top end. Mobilize 2 is very fun. United Battlefront is tempting, but it's actually not good for this deck. Underfoot Underdogs is 2 bodies and can do some shenanigans. Zurgo. Well, I love to see that. Pick that immediately. And let's pick some more combat tricks. Seize Opportunity, I think, is pretty decent. Alright, Hardened Tactician isn't amazing. I think we just take the land here. We need fixing. And we need more Reigning Victors, probably. We have lots of 2s, decent numbers of 3s and 4s, not a huge number of 1-mana spells. Alright, yo dog, I heard you like Reigning Victors, so I got you a playset for some reason. That's 4. Not going to pick any more. Probably not even going to play all 4. Depends on how the curve plays out. Alright, please pass me the draft pack. Again, this is what I get for going quickly near the start of the pack. Now I have to wait. Alright, so we have another Feral Deathgorger, which isn't terrible. Death Touch, mobilize 1 when it enters Surveil. Sure, we'll take that. And Fire Rim Form. I already have 2 of those. I'm going to take another Delta Bloodflies instead. And we get a Zurgo's Vanguard. Alright, the last couple picks were actually good cards somehow. Alright, 15 cuts. What 15 cards are we cutting from the deck? Riling Dawnbreaker seems decent. Feral Deathgorger is 6 mana for a 3-power creature. And the Omen is a sorcery, so that's not exciting. The Battle Priest is good. The Siege Breakers are good. Meticulous Artisan is not great. Scavenger Regent is a fantastic emergency button. I don't know how I win if I use Exude Toxin, but at least it can give me a chance. Alright, this card is good. I don't think I need 3 of them. That card is probably just good. Zurgo is great. Reigning Victors are great, I think. +1/+0 and Indestructible is really, really annoying. I love having 4 of those. Zurgo's Vanguard feels maybe a bit win more. Like, if it's too big, they'll just block it with a 3/3 or something. I don't know, I suppose there's always going to be at least a 2/3 on attacks, right? It's probably fine. Nightblade Brigade, it just has Mobilize. Like, I don't want to cut too many cards with Mobilize. I also don't want to cut too many combat tricks. Let's cut the Earth Carvers and the Blood Flies. Actually, if I do that, what 2-mana creatures do I have? Not many, actually, is the answer. I think because of that, the Earth Carvers stay in. The Blood Flies can still go. I don't even know if I'm going to have creatures with counters on them. I haven't really been paying attention to that. So, let's see. What else can I cut? Sort of want to cut 3s. So probably the Underdogs and the Nightblade Brigade and maybe the Seize Opportunities. And then for the 2s that I'm cutting, I mean, the Sharpshooter seems just so good with Mobilize. Rebellious Strike. Alright, what big creatures do I have in here? I think maybe I do cut the Riling Dawnbreaker. And maybe the Sandskitter Outriders. It's tough to say, but I need cuts, and I like having lots of 2s. Not quite this many 2s. I'm going to cut Rebellious Strike, Alicia's Legacy, and one more cut. I'll cut one Reigning Victor. Sure. Let's go with that. Alright, I did not look at the mana situation at all. I'm just going to assume that it's fine. I picked some dual lands. I have a Mardu Monument and a Devotee. It'll probably be fine. Alright, basic land Tron assembled. Can't cast Karsi Revenant. We can cast the Earth Carver, though. We're going to keep this. Play a Swamp on 1. Alright. 2/2 activated. Opponent is on blue-red. Please give me another swamp. Alright, not what I wanted. But I can go like insane aggro here. That's probably not right. Probably want to hold on to those for when they're either lethal or like blowing out my opponent in combat. Iridescent Tiger is a free creature. That's worrying. They make a 5/5 elephant. Alright. I actually don't want that to enter. Let's attack and blow them out with Fire Rim Form. Alright, they're scared. You love to see it. Play a flyer. So we can like attack, sack the mobilized token, make this guy bigger. Hopefully opponent just doesn't have flying and the Dragonback Lancer can get them. Whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat interplay, draw a card, or creatures get +1/+0 trample and haste. Yikes. Alright, well, so much for me ever accomplishing anything. So yeah, if I had drawn a second Black Source, Karsi Revenant could have done some work. as it is, I think... Like, what is even the line here? Do I just stay back and try to combat trick them? The old... no attacks, cast no spells. Alright, so we can Fire Rim form on the Dragonback Lancer. Make it a 5/3. With first strike this turn. Then we pass to blocks, and we block there. Please don't have a removal spell. I will be very sad and also dead if you do. Alright, basically a removal spell. Alright. Well, we have once again entered the glue-eating contest that is Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited, and my opponent has eaten more glue than me. So, I guess that's that. Alright, this hand does literal nothing until turn 4. This hand will be decent, but not amazing if I draw a black source. So let's just do that. Alright, never didn't have it. Alright. Instantly gets removed. And Island, Plains, Mardu, Devotee, Scry 2. Yeah, this works. We get a land for color fixing, and then the next turn we get a spell to cast with it. Alright, that deals 6 damage to target Karsi Revenant, or Dragonback Lancer. We're going to Mardu Mirror. Okay. This is fine. Hopefully we can Fire Inform to, like, blow them out in combat if they try to attack. Alright, they have Reigning Victor. So the Strike Master is going to get a free attack in with Indestructible. I'll just take that. My turn. Now we attack. Opponent takes it. Play my Karsi Revenant. I don't think I'm going to block. I think I'm going to just lean on Lifelink to race them here. Especially if I can put a Fire Rim form on it. Nope. Just easily, instantly dealt with. Alright, so I could play a 3/3 or a 3/3. I mean, attacking with this doesn't accomplish anything. Let's just play the Dragonback Lancer. And pass. And our opponent is going to remove our creature and kill us. Why does that have mobilized 2? What the heck? Alright, let's block the Strike Master. 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a lot of damage. If I can... Alright. I'm at 1. This is fine. Alright, I did not draw a land, which is deeply unfortunate. So now the only option I have is to put the counters on this and pass, and try to block to stay alive. Another reigning victor. That's horrifying. So I block this, I take 4 and I die. Okay. Yeah. Definitely feeling like decisions matter in these games of Tarkir Dragonstorm Limited. Definitely feel like the decisions I made during deck building and play had an impact on the outcome of these games. And definitely not feeling like I'm just showing up to flip a coin and see if I win or not, depending on whether my opponent has a more aggressive start than me. Alright. Opponent is on the play again. I will keep. Play a Mardu Devotee again. I think we keep the Shock Brigade, but not the other guy. Not been impressed by the other guy. Alright. Tap land. Go. Opponent is playing blue-black. I guess I'll attack for a point of damage. That sounds fun. Nope, apparently it doesn't sound fun. Now we get to have our creatures bounce off of each other. Alright, so next turn I get to play the Karsi Revenant. Or maybe the Reigning Victor. Okay. My opponent gets to aggressive negotiations me. I think I played the Reigning Victor. Get my attacks in. If they take the Mardu Siegebreaker, it's different. Alright, they take the Mardu Siegebreaker. I think in that case I played the Revenant. And I'll get a point of damage where I can. I have a 3/3 Flying Death Touch lifelink. Codis is a 2/1 indestructible. Sure. Alright, so I have 4 mana, so if... How about I just Voltron onto the Karsi Revenant? No, that seems wrong. I should at least play the Shock Brigade this turn. Attack you for 5. Gain some life back. They what? Why would you do that? Why would you not stop the... Alright, you just have 2. Fair enough. I forgot that blue just gets basically blue Path to Exile in this. Sure. I don't think that's better for you than it is for me. Alright, let's play a Shocking Sharpshooter and pass. Then next turn we can go Reigning Victor. So this, the 1/3 would have blocked that if they didn't have just every removal spell in the history of the planet. They bricked again. Alright. I think we just untap the Revenant and attack and see how they deal with that. Like 5/3 Flying Lifelink is kind of impossible to beat. Alright, Trample Decayed. So I guess that's their plan. Is to sack this, put a Decayed counter on my Revenant, and then be happy. Alright, they cast Wild Ride. Congratulations. Very useful. You've actually just given that to me. Doesn't seem great. Alright, I'm going to attack you for 5 again. You are dead on board if you can't beat my Karsi Revenant. Random lifelink, dude. And that gets the Decayed trigger. I am down to 21. They did not find anything, and that requires double black. Alright. We managed to win. We managed to win because Karsi Revenant with an aura on it is pretty good. Alright, so we are not going 0-3 this time. We get a win. Let's try to get some more wins. This would be a great time for a dramatic win streak where I win 5 games in a row and go like, while we're fantasizing, why not 6 games in a row? Let's get the 7-2. I believe I definitely am not going to lose a coin flip at any point and therefore lose the game. Alright, we have lost a coin flip. And our hand is kind of mid. I guess we keep it. We have 3 lands. Probably going to find a white source at some point. Alright, we found another mountain. It's always a good sign. Corroding Dragonstorm. Does very little. Alright, well, as far as things our opponents could be playing, that's a pretty good one for us. And Karsi Revenant is a pretty good top deck. It's not a basic plains. Basic plains would be great. I play this on Jeskai. At the beginning of your upkeep, make a goblin with lifelink and haste. Sure. I think I want to play out Zergo's Vanguard first, because Karsi Revenant is a fair bit better than these random cards. Champion of Dusan. Yes, I have 1-3. That doesn't go away? Alright, sure. I guess. Alright, give me a plains. Thank you. And I will attack. Alright, opponent, perhaps wisely, does nothing. We get them down to 20. And the token goes away. Zergo's Vanguard could get pretty big pretty quick. So next turn we go Mountain Karsi Revenant. Alright, they're attacking. So these little guys have lifelink. That makes sense, I guess. And a Sibzig Appraiser. Alright. Yep, you do that Sibzig Appraising. Do I Frontline Rush make a couple dudes? think I do. I think I make a couple dudes. Mardu Siegebreaker is tremendously exciting. So let's play a Reigning Victor, because this sets up for the Siegebreaker the best possible. Alright, they don't really want to block that anyway. I'll spread the power around. Like, if they chump block that, they chump block it, and the additional point doesn't do anything. Opponent down to 18. Please don't mess with my board. Please just let me cast my Siegebreaker and completely annihilate you. It'll be very funny, I swear. Also, I tapped out of white. When did I do that? Ah, for the Reigning Victor. Yep, makes sense. Search your library for a black card, a green card, and a blue card. Put those cards into your graveyard, then shuffle. Well, that is a 3/6 lifelinker with pretty much no other text. Like, technically, obviously, it has other text. But let's be real here. Shout out to these random goblin tokens from Frontline Rush. Pretty good. Alright, they get some cards, including a rare. Alright, well, I'm gonna block one of their goblins, because I am somehow at 7. When did that happen? Not sure. But let's play the Mardu Siegebreaker. Exile the Reigning Victor. And, yep, Siegebreaker attacks. Gives me a Reigning Victor. Gives the Siegebreaker indestructible. Alright, so now we have potentially going to have to chump block here. In fact, we're definitely going to have to chump block something. Although the Champion of Doosan can't really attack into these two goblins, so we can just make that trade. And if they attack with everything, then we might be able to do some stuff. Probably should have found a window to play Karsi Revenant, maybe instead of the Siegebreaker. Why does this thing have Death Touch? I mean, I'm not complaining. Alright, well, they've killed my larger creature. That has Trample. And they've given it... Okay. Sure. Well, another incredibly fun limited draft right there. Yep, you see, this is the problem, by the way, with aggro and limited, is that you sit down with your aggro deck, and then it just doesn't quite work, and suddenly it just doesn't come together, and your opponent is doing crazy nonsense while you're playing like 2/2s. Alright. Well, we got a pack out of it. Didn't get anything good in the pack. Got another pack, which gets us a rare wild card. Didn't get anything good again. Alright. Yeah, I did not have any fun games of Magic today. Probably gonna call it here early. And I suspect this will be the last time I play Magic the Gathering on stream for quite some time. We're gonna find some other game to play instead. Hopefully one that is actually enjoyable and requires, like, preferably not incredibly luck-based, preferably not having opponents being toxic. So yeah, I'll be playing Satisfactory tomorrow. That'll be fun. You don't have enemies in Satisfactory to be toxic towards you. You don't have luck. It's just a good fun game. And then the Tuesday-Thursday slot will be replaced by something. I have until Tuesday to think of what that something is going to be, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I will